On November 18th, the 4th season of Star Trek Discovery premiered in North America and a handful of other markets around the world, but nowhere else. As it turned out, Netflix, the international distributor of Star Trek Discovery's first 3 seasons, would not be releasing Season 4. Not only that, the first 3 seasons disappeared from Netflix servers shortly before the North American release of Season 4, meaning that when Season 4 dropped, few audiences anywhere else had any legal means of streaming even a single episode of Star Trek Discovery. In Trek-friendly territories like the UK and Germany, there were no legal streaming options. Interestingly, the entertainment media complex described this as something of a victory, as if Star Trek Discovery had been, quote-unquote, reclaimed by Paramount Plus. As we shall see, this was pure spin. Saying that Netflix had kicked Star Trek Discovery to the curb might be a more accurate description of what by all accounts actually transpired, which is what we'll be exploring in this video. We'll begin by going through the flaws in the claim that buying out Netflix was somehow a win for Paramount Plus, before breaking down how, despite appearances to the contrary, Netflix allegedly were the ones who managed to get out of their Star Trek Discovery commitments. And finally, the machinations behind how Season 4 ended up being released for free on Pluto TV internationally. As the scheduled North American release of Star Trek Discovery Season 4 drew ever closer, the many international fans of the series were becoming increasingly aware that unlike with previous seasons, there were no teasers or trailers for the upcoming season on Netflix, nor had an international day and date release been confirmed anywhere. Some might have even worried that Midnight's Edge might have been right in our early reporting that Netflix were out of the Star Trek Discovery business, which they would have been entirely justified in being. The hammer dropped on November 16th, just 2 days prior to the North American release, by way of Deadline Hollywood. Their exclusive, which was drafted by the CBS marketing department, was titled Star Trek Discovery Exits Netflix Tonight, set for 2022 launch on Paramount Plus globally. Attempting to put a positive spin on the news, the piece began with the byline, Star Trek Discovery is heading home, before continuing, more than 4 years after the series starring Sonequa Martin Green launched on what was then CBS All Access in North America and Netflix in the rest of the world, Discovery will be leaving the streamer as of midnight tonight. In a just-closed deal between Viacom CBS and Netflix, the Sherry Redstone-controlled company had ended the lucrative financial agreement that launched Discovery back in 2017. In broad strokes, the bargain that then head honcho Les Moonves made with Netflix saw the latter paying the vast majority of Discovery's hefty budget for the overseas rights. With the top-tier IP fully back in the fold, the plan is for Discovery to take flight on Paramount Plus around the globe starting next year. The UK, Germany, Ireland, Austria, and Switzerland will be among the first markets to stream Discovery on Paramount Plus of the more than 20 countries the platform is available in outside of North America. Viacom CBS has said that as part of an accelerated expansion, it anticipates being in about 45 markets within the next year or so. And of course, a high-profile brand like Star Trek will lead that charge. After establishing that Star Trek would be used as a means to push Paramount Plus around the world come 2022, the scoop added that no details were given of the deal that Viacom CBS and Netflix struck for the first 3 seasons of Discovery, but we hear it was in the healthy 6 figures. The arrangement removes any stake that Netflix had in the series. What's interesting about this Deadline Hollywood article is that a positive spin is put on it, even if all the information held within it is, in reality, incredibly bad for Viacom CBS and Star Trek production company Secret Hideout. Let's see why. The piece stated that Viacom CBS had ended the arrangement that launched Discovery back in 2017, which was explicitly described as financially lucrative. Confirming what Midnight's Edge had been reporting for years, the piece then stated that Netflix had paid for the bulk of Star Trek Discovery's production cost, from which it follows that Star Trek Discovery was virtually a free lunch for CBS. That is indeed such a financially lucrative arrangement that no company in their right mind, and on the receiving end of it, which CBS were, would even contemplate ending it. Yet that's what this article is trying to make you believe Viacom CBS did. Not only that, it's trying to make you believe that they ended it specifically so they can use Star Trek Discovery as a means to push their streaming service Paramount Plus internationally, in the same way they used Star Trek Discovery as a flagship title to push CBS All Access domestically when it first came out. That incidentally worked out so well that CBS All Access is now shut down and replaced with Paramount Plus, despite CBS All Access even having the benefit of Star Trek Discovery being a premiere show at the time. By the time Paramount Plus is ready to be rolled out internationally, Season 4 will be old news. Even a fiscally healthy company would not be willing to part with what, between free funding of future seasons and buying out earlier seasons, amounts to multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, just to get back international rights for one series they already have domestic rights to, and Viacom CBS is anything but a fiscally healthy company. Clearly, there is more to this story than the selective snippets of it published in Deadline Hollywood would have you believe. Longtime viewers will already have an inkling of what that might be, but for the benefit of new viewers, let's revisit some of our own earlier coverage. On March 4th of 2020, 6 months before the premiere of Star Trek Discovery's third season, we at Midnight's Edge published a video in which we stated the following. Contrary to what our detractors like to accuse us of, we've never claimed that Discovery has been canceled before. This time, however, for the first time, we are hearing rumors that strongly suggest the end may indeed be near. To see why, we must explore the situation and bad blood between Secret Hideout and Netflix, which contributed to them passing on Picard in the first place. When Netflix signed on to Star Trek Discovery, they thought they'd signed up for a crowd pleaser. Secret Hideout gave them anything but, and a final product which did not bring in and retain enough subscribers relative to Netflix expenditure. As such, they wanted out of their contract, which would effectively mean instant cancellation. While Star Trek Discovery turned out to be a money loser for Netflix, it was very profitable for Secret Hideout, as much of what Netflix paid was a production fee straight to them. For this reason, Secret Hideout wouldn't let Netflix pull out.
Hey, phrasing!
Not without a fight, or at least without robbing them blind first. Secret Hideout argued that they had already booked all sound stages at Pinewood, Toronto for years to come. Plus, they had committed to a whole slew of other production expenses that were intended to be amortized over the course of a multiple season run. If Netflix wanted out now, Secret Hideout would consider that breach of contract and hit them with a $400 million cancellation fee. Netflix responded they never signed off on Kurtzman going on such a spending spree. And so the matter went into arbitration, while Netflix reluctantly agreed to a third season, albeit at a much reduced cost. In December of 2019, it was widely reported that Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery had finished shooting. However, 2 months later, in the end of February 2020, it was yet again widely reported that filming of Season 3 had wrapped. This time, the cast and directors chimed in as well in a more celebratory fashion. So what happened between the wrap in December and the wrap in late February? According to what we've heard, and which we again stress cannot be independently verified and therefore must be taken with a grain of salt, what happened was that arbitration ended. Our sources tell us that the ruling was, in not so many words, that Netflix had in fact not signed off on Kurtzman spending money like a drunken sailor. Instead, they'd given the required notice and lived up to their obligations by agreeing to the third season. Following from that, our sources also tell us that Netflix then pulled out of Season 4. This then led to about 2 months worth of rewriting and subsequent reshoots on Season 3, and these are what wrapped in late February. The purpose of these reshoots was allegedly to remove the Season 4 foreshadowing and cliffhanger ending originally present in Season 3, and instead add a series finale. Again, this is what we stated in a video published 6 months prior to the release of Star Trek Discovery's third season, and by the time Season 3 ended, a significant chunk of our reporting was proven to have been accurate. Season 3 had the hallmarks of significant editing and reworking, exceedingly little to no Season 4 foreshadowing, and the season finale did indeed look like a series finale. Another significant chunk of our reporting was proven to have been accurate in November of this year, when Deadline Hollywood, as already covered, confirmed that Netflix would not distribute Season 4 and had no involvement in the making of Season 4, and as of November 16th, had sold their entire stake in even the first 3 seasons. While Deadline Hollywood did not make any reference to arbitration having taken place, the same sources who told us of the Season 3 finale and Netflix being out of the Star Trek business cited them having won arbitration as the reason for both. So it stands to reason that is also likely to have happened. It would appear that our sources had nailed it.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
The notion that Discovery might be canceled was derived from the fact that if Netflix left, they took the majority of the funding with them, which indeed they did. So let's explore how it came to pass that Season 4 was made anyway. As per usual, we must preface by stating the information we are about to relay to you was provided to us by sources with alleged ties to the production. None of the information can at this point in time be independently verified, which is why you must treat it as rumor and take it with the recommended dose of your daily sodium intake, i.e. a grain of salt. With that out of the way, we have heard that the only reason Secret Hideout were able to proceed with Season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, despite Netflix no longer there to foot the majority of the production cost, was that they were able to secure sufficient alternate funding. We have been told that while they weren't able to find any one major benefactor, like Netflix had been, they had found enough small investors that each invested a smaller amount, but the accumulated sum of these were enough to exceed the minimum required to proceed with another season. Hence, Star Trek Discovery was after all able to carry on without Netflix picking up the tab. According to our sources, part of the new funding came from institutional investors who just lost their clients' money buying into something they didn't understand. Another part came from self-appointed philanthropes who made politically motivated donations without expecting any kind of direct financial return. Also, a much larger chunk than before came directly from Viacom-CBS, who were forced to pick up a bigger part of the tab due to the deal Les Moonves locked them into with Secret Hideout on his way out the door. We've also heard rumors that Season 4 may be divided into multiple parts, more specifically into what will be labeled Season 4, Season 5, and a movie, all of which were filmed during an extended Season 4 production cycle. So far, we've mostly addressed the funding side. There's also the distribution side of things. According to our sources, Viacom-CBS were, up until very recently, courting other major distributors to pick up the international distribution rights. If someone had bit, whether that be Amazon, Apple, or anyone else, it would have solved all their problems. Unfortunately, there were no takes. No one with the infrastructure needed had any interest in picking up Star Trek Discovery, as it was too open a secret within the distribution channel circles that the series had been a disaster for Netflix. So why would anyone else pick up their refuse? That's not to say that Viacom-CBS didn't receive any offers at all, but the offers they did get were, for the longest time, reportedly unacceptable to them. Hence, the Deadline Hollywood spin that they were bringing Star Trek Discovery home to Paramount Plus was reportedly not so much a deliberate choice as it was a lack of options. The international rollout of Paramount Plus is still only in its earliest of phases. It'll take months before the service is available in the biggest markets around the world, and years before it's everywhere Viacom-CBS wants to be. According to our sources, the powers that be are painfully aware that by the time Paramount Plus is available in the major international markets where Season 4 of Discovery had the potential to make an impact, it'll be too late. By that time, it will have lost its news value and be but another catalog show widely available on the high seas. They reportedly figured that if they were to see any kind of international return on Season 4, it had to be released now. This realization, not the demands from international fans on Twitter, is what caused them to torpedo their own narrative about using it to push Paramount Plus next year by rushing an international release right now. Hence, on November 26th, Star Trek Discovery dropped on the free international streaming service Pluto TV for the simple reason that Viacom-CBS owns a stake in it. That way, they, at the very least, get the revenue from commercials while the series is still newsworthy. Additionally, Season 4 was also sold to and dropped on a number of smaller streaming services around the world, which yields some revenue here and now, and the cash-stricken Viacom-CBS needs all the revenue it can get. However, all of this comes at the expense of removing any and all international flagship value Season 4 might have had if it had remained a Paramount Plus exclusive, and it certainly undermines the spin that they were buying back Discovery from Netflix in order to bring it home to Paramount Plus. Since the series right now is in both Pluto TV and a number of local streaming services in the majority of international territories where Paramount Plus is available, they would have been better off just leaving it on Netflix in the first place. We shall keep you up to date with more news from behind the scenes of Star Trek. For now though, hit that like, subscribe if you're new, and smash that bell so you don't miss out on future updates. And finally, let us know your take on all of this in the comments.